welcome back to another episode of Commentator's Corner here at the end of January. Tyler Reedy and Brendan Preisman with you once again, and we've got a lot to talk about, a lot going on in the world of sports between prep, college basketball, NFL, of course, Super Bowl week, just a week and a half away. And first of all, Brendan, how are you doing? Got a couple snow days to work with earlier in the week. A foot of snow fell on Monday, so it's definitely been an eventful week.
It certainly has. I mean, we just thank our lucky stars we don't live in Lincoln because they got about 15 inches, and they had another snow day today. That makes 4 in a row for them. So, yeah, snow definitely hitting Nebraska hard, but sports continuing to pick up. You mentioned prep, coming off 2 straight top 10 victories against Westside and Papillion South. They've got Bellevue West this Saturday. That's going to be probably one of their games of the year. We're on the call for that, of course. College basketball, you mentioned. The Texas Longhorns, number 5 in the nation. If we're a basketball school now, I'm not angry as long as we can maybe get a title. NBA, that season definitely starting to heat up. MVP race starting to heat up. A lot of really good candidates for that. And then NFL, you mentioned Super Bowl, a week and a half away. Your Chiefs back in it. They've still got Patrick Mahomes. They're going to have him for another decade and a half. So that'll probably become a pretty regular occurrence. So, yeah, a lot to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Starting with prep basketball, up to 14-1 on the season now, and they got the win over Papillion Vista South on Wednesday night. 9th-ranked Papillion Vista South. Final score was 66-54. That on the heels of a big win over Westside the Friday night before that. Westside number 6 in the state, and now they go into this weekend, Saturday night, as you said. We'll have it for you up against number 2 Bellevue West. That's going to be a big game. But if you weren't with us for the Papio South game, Brendan was doing play-by-play. I was doing color commentary. So I'll give you a chance here to really share your thoughts. Yeah, you got your chance to hear from me what I thought of that game. But Brendan, what really did you see from Creighton Prep? Impressive win again in the top 10.
Well, for the first 3 quarters, only allowing 29 points, the defense was just incredible. They didn't do quite as well in the fourth quarter. They gave up 5 threes, which was 3 more than they'd given up all game prior to that. But the first 3 quarters really good. Justin City is having one of the best stretches of his career. You sent me his stats earlier. 11 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 8 steals. So he's been playing out of his mind all year long. Luke Jungers had a nice bounce-back game. Great second half for him, 14 points. A.J. Rollins had 14 points. But what really struck me is for how the most part Prep was able to shut Papio South's scores, Daniel Brickale, Daenerys Dempsey, Graham Casute. Prep was able to basically shut them down. Brickale still ended up with 18 points, but all but 6 of them came in the second half when the game was basically well in hand. Dempsey had 12, but he kind of struggled Dempsey had 10, but he kind of struggled all game. Casute had 12, 10 of those came in the second half. So I think that bodes well for the Bellevue West game. If Prep's able to stop those guys, they could probably stop Chucky Hedburn as well.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Prep is really entering that gauntlet part of their schedule. Already faced off with number 6 Westside, number 9 Papillion Vista South, and now coming up this Saturday night, number 2 Bellevue West. Then Tuesday, February 2nd, you've got number 7 Papillion La Vista. They visit Millard North on February 16th. That's another Tuesday night game. And then to close out the season, number 4 Omaha Central will come to the Hyder on February 20th. But the big game to talk about, you got 2 big games this weekend really in Class A. Friday night, number 1 Millard North, number 2 Bellevue West. Let's talk about that one first since it comes first in chronological order. Rematch of the Metro Holiday Tournament Championship that we got to see back on January 2nd. What a game it was. 94-91 win in double overtime for Millard North. And you can't ask for much more getting to see these guys play again.
No, you certainly can't. I mean, the one thing that worries me for Millard North is that game, really close game, but you can't rely on St. Thomas to almost drop a 50-piece every game. He had an incredible game, which we were privileged enough to be on the call for. Didn't look like he was really missing a shot for most of the second half, which was huge for them. But they can't rely on him to get 48 points every game. The defense is definitely going to have to step up for them, especially against a guy like Frankie Fiddler.
Yep, and Frankie Fiddler, he put up 30 points when he first matched up with Prep back in the semifinal matchup for the Metro Holiday Tournament on December 31st. But real quick, definitely going to be a great game, Millard North, Bellevue West. Who you got in that one?
I don't think I can pick against Millard North right now. They look as good as definitely as good as any team in the state, maybe as good as any team in the country. They've got Thomas, they've got Hunter Salas, they've got Jason Green, and a whole host of other guys in their supporting cast. They're leading Class A in basically every stat category except for steals and assists, which go to Bell West. But this is Miller North just has no weaknesses, really.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They're a top 15 team in the nation at this point. They're 16-0, and I agree with you. I think they'll get the job done against Bellevue West on Friday night. So if Bellevue West loses that game, not going to get much easier the night after on Saturday, taking on number 3 Creighton Prep, a team that gave them a run for their money in that semifinal game. It was a 73-64 final. Thunderbirds winning that one over the Junior Jays, but Prep kept it close. I believe it was a one-score game at the end of each quarter, except for the end of the game. So Creighton Prep definitely has a chance, especially with the defense that they're playing, to stay in it, potentially pull an upset over Bellevue West.
Yeah, one of the real issues for Prep was just struggling to stop Frankie Fiddler in the second half. Put up 18 points. Chucky Hepburn only managed to get, I think, only 12 or 14 points, but he also had 10 assists. And the free throw struggles really caught up to Prep. They missed a lot of free throws throughout the first 3 quarters. Started hitting them in the fourth quarter, but by then it was just too little too late.
Yeah, some of those three-pointers from guys like Frankie Fiddler, guys like Evan Inselman were key down the stretch for Bellevue West, pulling out that victory, pulling away in the fourth quarter. But definitely going to be a big-time weekend. I'm sure we'll see some shifts in that top 5. Haven't seen really any at all this year in Class A, but things definitely going to move around going forward over the next month. So looking at some of the other Creighton Prep sports going on, the bowling team beat Gretna in a duel on Wednesday, and they will head to districts on February 2nd. So definitely rooting for the bowling teams, get some strikes there. Swimming team has a duel with Central on February 2nd, and the wrestlers are back in action on Saturday against Ron Colley. So things definitely heating up. Tuesday is certainly going to be a big game. We got the Prep Papio game, we got districts for bowling, and then we got the swimming duel against Central. So a lot going on. We're really hitting that point of the year where it's really busy for prep sports.
Yeah.
Yep, so you look at some of the professional sports going on.
Definitely.
The big one right now is the
Looking
NFL
forward.
Conference Championship weekend wrapped up last weekend. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that dream matchup everybody wanted when Tom Brady went down to Tampa Bay in the offseason. Kansas City beat the Buffalo Bills. Tampa Bay beat the Green Bay Packers. What did you see from those two matchups, starting with the Buccaneers and the Packers, Tom Brady out-dueling Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it Brady out-dueling Aaron Rodgers as much as the differences between the two offenses. What stuck out to me most, because I think I watched a little more of that game than I did of Buffalo, Kansas City, was that the Buccaneers were able to capitalize on their opportunities. The Packers were not. You saw that when the Buccaneers got that Hail Mary to Scotty Miller at the end of the first half, when the Packers should have known, cover deep, there's nowhere else they can go. Miller, by the way, might have started a little bit of a beef with Tyreek Hill when he claimed that he could beat him in a race a couple days ago.
Ooh.
Obviously, the Chiefs don't think so, but that would be interesting to see. And then for the Packers, Aaron Rodgers still looks great, but as we've seen, great is not enough to beat Tom Brady in the playoffs. You have to be almost flawless, and the Packers most certainly were not.
Yeah.
As for Buffalo, Kansas City, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is going to do Patrick Mahomes things. He's probably the most talented quarterback in the game right now, definitely the most talented quarterback I've seen live. I think that's fair to say. But Buffalo played a really good game, but much like Brady, you can't just be really good and beat Patrick Mahomes.
Yep, so taking a look at some of the numbers from that Tampa-Green Bay game first. Tom Brady, first of all, 43 years old, going to his 10th Super Bowl. Just amazing what he's still doing at this age. He had 280 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, did throw 3 interceptions, but was able to pull out the victory. Chris Godwin had 5 catches for 110 yards, Mike Evans 51 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Then the other side for Green Bay, Tampa did a nice job on Devontae Adams. Held him to 9 catches for 67 yards and a touchdown on 15 targets. Had a couple chances to make some catches in the end zone. Just came up a little bit short a few times. Aaron Rodgers could have ran it in on that 1 3rd and goal you might have seen towards the end of the fourth quarter, decided to throw. It was incomplete, had to settle for a field goal, led to the Tampa Bay drive that iced the game. Rodgers finished with 346 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Then Marquez Valdez-Scantling, their home run guy for Green Bay, 4 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Who really stood out to you, players-wise, from that NFC Championship?
Well, I thought Marquez Valdez-Scantling did a good job. But for the Packers, to me, especially with you talking about Devontae Adams kind of being shut down a little bit, it comes back to those missed chances because there was a play in the second quarter where the Packers had a 1st and goal, went to Devontae Adams 3 straight times, missed on all 3 opportunities. First one might have been a drop. Second one was broken up. Third one was an overthrow. And they had to settle for a field goal. Like, those points really became the difference in the ball game because the Packers just couldn't convert on the goal line when they needed to. And then you saw again in the fourth quarter, Rodgers has a chance to run it in, decides to throw over the middle instead, broken up. 4th down, Matt LaFleur elects to go for the field goal. I think that was a mistake. I'll probably think that was a mistake for a long, long time. But in the end, the Packers offense just wasn't able to convert when it needed to.
Yep, now on the other side, AFC Championship game, my Chiefs got the win 38-24 over the Buffalo Bills. It was a heck of a season, heck of a run from Buffalo. They've got great things coming up, no doubt about it. They went up 9-0 in the first quarter of that game, but then the Chiefs just hit their stride. They turned on that second gear and just blew away Buffalo, really, in that second quarter, scoring 21 in the second quarter alone. Look at some of the numbers from that game. Patrick Mahomes, great game as usual, 325 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, looked just fine coming off the concussion he suffered last week against Cleveland. And then on the receiving end, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, 2nd consecutive playoff game where both of them go over 100 receiving yards. Hill had 9 for 172, and Kelce with 13 grabs for 118 and 2 touchdowns. Other side for Buffalo, decent game for Josh Allen, 287 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Had 88 rushing yards on 7 carries, which really stood out. And then Cole Beasley, 88 receiving yards. Stephon Diggs with 77. Who was really the top performer for you from that game?
Well, you mentioned the 13 catches from Kelce, but I'd definitely say just the triumvirate of Mahomes, Kelce, and Hill because I saw a stat that was I can't remember the exact number, but it was basically Mahomes only had about 50 yards passing that weren't to Kelce or Hill. And that's simply because the Bills' defense really couldn't cover them all game long. You saw Hill get open quite often running those intermediate to deep routes. Kelce was open over the middle quite often. And that's something that the Buccaneers are definitely going to have to look at when they're studying game film. If you can't stop those 2 guys, there's no way you're going to be able to stop the Chiefs' offense.
Yeah, and the number exactly was 35 passing yards Mahomes had to guys not named Hill or Kelce. 35 of his 325. Just incredible what those 2 guys do on the receiving end. So, Kansas City and Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is in Tampa Bay, so the Buccaneers playing as the sort of home team. The NFL is going to do everything they can to limit all advantages, but Tampa Bay is going to be wearing white for that game. Kansas City is going to be wearing red, and got to ask you, who you got?
Well, this is kind of tough, especially with the Eric Fisher injury coming out, torn ACL. The Buccaneers pass rush did an excellent job against Aaron Rodgers last Sunday. Jason Pierre-Paul, other guys like him getting into the quarterback's face. So I think that Mahomes will be under probably more pressure than he's been all year, but also pressure doesn't seem to get to him like it gets to mortal quarterbacks. So in the end, I don't want to bet against Tom Brady, but I really don't want to bet against Patrick Mahomes. I think 31-28 Chiefs win.
Yep, I've got 34-24. Definitely going to be pretty close. The last matchup took place in Week 12. I had the Chiefs win that one, 34-24. But last matchup took place in Week 12. Kansas City jumped out to a big lead in the first quarter. Tyreek Hill had over 200 receiving yards in the first quarter alone. But Tom Brady led a bit of a comeback, got it close. Chiefs had to convert a 4th down to seal the game. Ended up being 27-24 win for Kansas City, but definitely going to be a great duel. Mahomes, the young, up-and-coming, potentially greatest of all time, versus Tom Brady, the guy we all recognize as the greatest of all time. So certainly going to be a great one there. So looking back, let's do something a little fun here. Looking back to some of our preseason predictions we made way back in August 12th. Let's poke some fun at ourselves here. I will start. We'll look at playoff teams we had, as well as award predictions, individual award predictions, with those coming out this weekend. But AFC side, we both agreed on the same thing. I put mine out, texted them to you, and you said and you agree with that totally. I had the Chiefs winning the West, so all good there. Expected.
Yep.
AFC North, we had the Ravens winning it and the Steelers taking the wild card. Obviously, that was flip-flopped this year. Steelers ended up really not doing all that well towards the end, but we had both of them in there, so that's pretty good. Patriots winning the AFC East. We did have Buffalo making it, but that New England pick not looking too good.
I bet a little high on Cam Newton coming into this year because I figured it was going to be like his make or break year, especially being on a pretty small contract compared to the contract years past. Unfortunately, he wasn't quite it. Definitely wasn't quite it for my fantasy team, but Justin Herbert was, so it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, I sold it all because I thought Cam Newton was going to be a great quarterback after 2 weeks of fantasy football, and then it just went splat. Yeah, much like the Patriots as a team as well. And then AFC South, we both had Tennessee winning the AFC South, so got that. Good stuff there. But we had the Houston Texans as a wild card. That did not pan out. The DeAndre Hopkins trade ended up having a much bigger impact than we expected. I figured at the beginning of the year that, as long as Deshaun Watson's there, they're going to have a chance. They're going to have a chance to contend, but I had no idea their defense would be so bad.
I mean, it's a little bit of a surprise, especially when you look at a defense that has J.J. Watt on it, but at some point you just got to look at it as it stops becoming a football problem and starts becoming an organizational problem. Like, apparently we've got a chaplain that's basically our GM now. Like, his highest position when he was with New England before he came over with Bill O'Brien was he was the team chaplain, and now he controls our football operations. I do not understand it at all. I do not understand why Bill O'Brien was given control over our football operations. And my thing now has become, wherever Deshaun Watson goes, I'm just going to follow that team because at this point it is not worth it to follow this Houston Texans team because they are not going to make you very happy.
Yeah, well, Deshaun's trying to get out of there. I'm hearing rumors about him requesting trades. Not sure where he's going to go, but you got to feel for Deshaun. He's a great quarterback, but not good down there with Houston. So let's look at the NFC side. We had differing predictions. Let's go with you first. NFC West, you had the 49ers winning the division, which was understandable at the time, but their season was wrecked by injury. Yep, and then you had Seattle in the playoffs as well as a wild card. They won the division, but it was accurate. You got them in there. NFC North, we both made this mistake. Also, we both had 49ers Seahawks, but we both made this mistake of having the Vikings winning the NFC North. Ugh.
I bet a little high on Kirk Cousins, and he did okay, but the Packers just played much better than I think either of us expected.
Yeah, well, definitely much better than I expected. I don't know what I was thinking. I got caught up in the Packers not making really any offseason improvements, not doing well in the draft, not picking up free agents. I thought they would miss the playoffs. They got the number 1 seed. I'm an idiot. You had them as a wild card, so props to you. You got them in. But NFC East, we both had the Eagles winning that division, and that division was much, much worse than anybody could have imagined. Washington football team got the job done there. You had the Cowboys in there as well. Probably would have happened had Dak Prescott not gone down with the unfortunate injury. Then NFC South, we both had the Saints in there, but I had my problem with the Packers. Here's your problem. You didn't have Tampa Bay in there, and they're in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I had the Bucs as a wild card team. I think my original Super Bowl prediction was Chiefs Saints, so I think our AFC was definitely a little better than the NFC.
Yeah. We both bet way too high on certain teams and way too low on others. I saw Tom Brady, the way he went out of New England in 2019, and I was like, oh, he's done. It doesn't matter who they put around him. He is just absolutely cooked. He's going to play 2 years and then retire, and it's going to look like Michael Jordan in a Wizards uniform. And now he's in the Super Bowl because we cannot have nice things.
Yep, definitely struggled with that NFC. I missed the Packers, you missed the Bucs. All right, let's look at the individual awards that we predicted back in August. Your MVP was Lamar Jackson. Mine was Patrick Mahomes. I think mine is looking much better than yours, although it's probably going to be Aaron Rodgers, but you spent the whole summer trying to tell me that Lamar Jackson was better than Patrick Mahomes and he would have a better season than Mahomes, and you were wrong. So what do you have to say to that? Nothing. All right, yep, understandable. We can put that
Yeah, you cut out there for a little bit, but I got the gist. Basically, you have a better season than Patrick Mahomes, and my excuse is I didn't want the Chiefs to do that well because I'm not a Chiefs fan. But I will say that one guy that did surprise me is Josh Allen. Much like Brady and his exit, I kind of looked at the way Allen performed in the Bills' wild card game against the Texans last year, and I was like, oh, so he's an idiot who throws a lot of interceptions. This is not going to go well for the Bills, but they've found their quarterback of the future in him.
Yep, Josh Allen had a great season. Certainly could have an MVP or two coming in the future. Offensive Player of the Year, really just the next best guy, maybe a position player that doesn't win MVP. You had Patrick Mahomes. I think mine's looking pretty good with Derrick Henry.
He won me well, I'd be perfectly fine with whatever awards he wins, but yeah, I'm surprised I didn't pick Derrick Henry, but I suppose I was just thinking he was due for a regression year because, like, he's a running back. There's no way he's going to have another great season, right? And then he rushes for 2,000 yards. So, yeah.
Yep. All right. Defensive Player of the Year. Yours, I think, looks better than mine for sure. You had T.J. Watt. He had a great season. I had Stephon Gilmore. Not so much. Had to deal with COVID quite a bit and injury, so I think you definitely have the upper hand there. But Offensive Rookie of the Year, you went with the position player Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back for the Chiefs, and he got injured late in the year, didn't really get the volume needed for a guy to win Rookie of the Year. I had Joe Burrow, which was looking pretty good until the unfortunate torn ACL happened in Week 11. So I think what are you saying?
It's probably going to be Justin Herbert at this point. I mean, you might look at Tua and say maybe Tua, but Herbert was probably the best rookie to play basically the entire season, and he played it pretty well. So I think it's going to Herbert.
Yeah, what I've heard, it's down to two guys really, Justin Herbert and Justin Jefferson, wide receiver for the Vikings, who put up 1,400 receiving yards, but definitely think it's probably going to be Herbert. And then Defensive Rookie of the Year, we had the same guy for this one, Chase Young. I think it's a pretty good-looking pick.
Yeah, it's Chase Young. No reason to pick against a guy who finished like fourth in the Heisman race.
Yeah, second overall pick. I think he's definitely got the inside track to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. So looks like we'll get a correct answer there. And then Coach of the Year, we went with this one as well. You had Mike Tomlin. That's off the table with the way the Steelers finished the season. I had Bruce Arians.
That's on the table.
Yeah. Well, did they already give it to Kevin Stefanski? I think they already did, didn't they?
No. I think that's with the rest of the awards, too. But my Tomlin pick was looking really good through the first 12 or so weeks of the season, and then the Steelers imploded because that's just what they do now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was looking great. They were 11-0 up to one point, but... Yeah, I had Bruce Arians. Buccaneers are in the Super Bowl, so we'll see how that plays out. But I think a lot more of that's going to be attributed to Brady just getting out of New England and Belichick struggling the way he did. But yeah, there you go. Those were our picks. So no, we are not perfect. Yes, we are idiots sometimes. But yeah, what do you think of those?
I stand by a lot of my picks. The only one that I find indefensible is Edwards-Helaire because after looking back on this season, he's the fourth best offensive player on his team, so there was no way he was going to win it. I probably would have gone with someone like Burrow or Justin Jefferson. But other than that, I don't think any of my picks were bad picks. Some of them just didn't pan out.
Yeah.
Except for the Buccaneers missing the playoffs. That one's probably a mistake on my part.
Yeah, and then me with the Packers. And then both of us with the Patriots getting the AFC East and the Bills doing what they did. But yeah, that's it for the NFL. Definitely going to be a great Super Bowl. Tune in next Sunday on CBS. Buccaneers and Chiefs. Going to be a great one. Mahomes and Brady going head-to-head. So let's take a look at everything else that's going on in sports. College basketball. You got Gonzaga and Baylor still perfect, undefeated at number 1 and number 2 respectively. Then Villanova, Michigan, your Texas Longhorns at number 5. And then a couple more local teams that have struggled in recent weeks. Kansas has dropped down to number 15 after losses to unranked Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And then Creighton has dropped to number 17 after flirting with the top 10 after close losses to unranked Butler and Providence. So, what have you made of the college basketball season so far? Definitely got two clear front runners so far.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that Gonzaga and Baylor, it's kind of like in those years in college football where there's two really good undefeated teams. Like, of course, I'm going to use a metaphor close to home. It was like the 2005 season where USC and Texas were just undefeated every week. Like, those are the two best teams. If they don't play in the title game, something very wrong has happened. And I think that might be it with Gonzaga and Baylor, but there's a lot of other really quality teams that could potentially win a title if everything breaks right for them. Villanova, Michigan, Texas. Iowa is one team that if they get hot, they're as dangerous as any team in the country. The one downside for Villanova, who I think has the hardest path, is the same thing that's befallen Creighton in recent weeks. It's just the fact that the Big East as a conference it's so tough. It's basically like what the SEC is for college football, except for college basketball. There's about 5 or 6 ranked teams in there every single year, and it's just a bloodbath. And if you come out of it alive, you've got a better chance to win, but a lot of teams don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And then taking it a level up with the NBA, we've seen the teams we expected to do well doing well. 76ers, Bucks, Pacers, Nets, Celtics in the top 5 of the Eastern Conference. And then Cleveland Cavaliers, they've been really struggling the last few years, but they found themselves in the 6th spot so far, hanging around at 9-9. And then over in the West, the Jazz, Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, Warriors, Spurs in the top 6. How about the Miami Heat, 6-11 after going to the finals last year?
Well, I think it's a little early to make predictions for both teams that did well last year and are struggling now, like the Heat, and teams that struggled last year and are doing well now, like the Cavs. I don't think that these games are a large enough sample size to really make any determinations, especially because the Heat have been dealing with the coronavirus and injuries basically since the year started, added on to the short offseason they had. So I think the Heat will still come back and make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make the finals again, but they're definitely going to give some teams a scare. The Cavs, I do think, will stay in the playoffs, but they're not as good as the 6th seed in the East, I don't think. And then out West, I think the Nuggets are also kind of struggling. They're sitting at 11-7 right now, and the Portland Trailblazers are sitting at 9-7. I don't think that's necessarily an indictment of any of those two teams yet. It's just we're not far enough into the NBA season yet to really determine, except for a couple of teams like the Sixers, Lakers, Clippers, and Nets, we're not far enough into the season, except for a select few teams, to know where they really stand in the NBA hierarchy.
Yep, and then on the NHL side, the teams we've expected to do well, definitely doing well early on. Washington Capitals, Vegas Golden Knights, Montreal Canadiens, Columbus Blue Jackets, all playoff teams last year, leading their respective divisions. They shuffled the divisions around this year. One of them is an all-Canada division, which is a lot of fun, but you got those 4 playoff teams last year leading their divisions. Boston, St. Louis, Toronto, Nashville, Philadelphia, Colorado, also all playoff teams last year in the mix as well. My Blackhawks are stinking up the joint. They've been terrible so far, missing Jonathan Toews, Kirby Dach, some of those guys, but definitely been fun so far in the NHL as well as the NBA. And then on the MLB side, free agency's getting red hot. George Springer's probably been the biggest signing so far, going to the Blue Jays, who have really been shopping, getting Springer, Marcus Semien, a great shortstop from the Oakland A's, and then Kirby Yates, excellent closer from the San Diego Padres. They're going to be a fun team to watch with guys like Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., meeting some of these big-name free agents. Could be interesting in the AL East next year.
Yeah, it certainly could, especially with established teams like the Yankees and Red Sox still kind of hanging in there. More so the Yankees than the Red Sox. But one thing that I really think is important for the Blue Jays is that most of the reviews I've seen of that trade have been like, the Blue Jays have a fun team, and especially with ratings struggling in recent years, I think that's exactly what baseball needs right now, is just a fun team that people enjoy to watch, because as a kind of neutral observer, to me, baseball really isn't that much fun to watch. But a team like Toronto with guys like Vlad Guerrero Jr., the young guys who genuinely enjoy playing baseball, and it shows, like, I'd watch a game if it's on and they're playing.
Yeah, let's just hope they don't end up like the Phillies have over the last couple seasons. They went out and got guys like Bryce Harper and JT Real Muto, but definitely haven't lived up to their potential. See what the Blue Jays can do. Another pretty interesting signing for a good team. Liam Hendricks, big name closer from the Oakland A's, signed by the Chicago White Sox, so they pick up a closer. That was kind of a need of theirs. They've got plenty of bats as well down there on the south side. They could certainly make some noise in the American League Central, but bottom line is, it's been a fun month of January so far, and it's only going to get better from here on all three levels.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we're able to keep up with all of it, because if you look at what we're going to be doing the week of February 7th, we're going to have the Super Bowl reaction, probably at least one prep game to call, all the homework, probably a National Honor Society application for you, and then whatever else comes up throughout the pro sports ranks. So it's going to be a lot of content, going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, we're here to bring it to you, so definitely keep it here. Stay tuned. We love doing these. We love bringing these to you, and we hope you stay safe during these times, as always, and just hope you enjoy the great sports we've got going on. Definitely tune in this weekend, if you can, to that Bellevue West Miller North game on Friday, and then Bellevue West Creighton Prep right here. Stay right here on this channel. We will have it for you. Going to be an excellent game. Going to be an excellent month of basketball. So for Brendan Preisman, I am Tyler Reedy saying thank you for spending this 27 minutes or so with us, and we will see you next time on Commentator's Corner.